What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about triggers. What are they and how can we fight them or overcome them, learn from them, see them in a different way? Hello, I am Samantha. If you're new here, I'm a holistic practitioner and I'm also a mindset coach. And the purpose of the channel is to help you understand this thing called energy, how you can retrain your mind so you can step into your power and level up your life. So today is triggers. Triggers are a huge thing, and this word kind of gets thrown around a lot. Be like, oh my God, you're triggering me, or this is a trigger, but nobody does anything about it. We're like, okay, this triggers you, so we're going to get rid of it, instead of acknowledging that the triggers are our responsibility and we are the ones who have to resolve them. So what are triggers? Triggers are a part of ourselves from the past that is resurfacing. It can be known as shadow work. It can be known as the ego trying to protect you. It can mean so many different things. So someone says something to us, or we say something and we get triggered. We have an emotional response. Okay, what is this? This is something from the past. So whenever we have a trigger, we freak out over something. That is the part of ourselves that is still living in the past. So this can be the ego bringing something up like, oh my gosh, this happened in the past. It's similar to this, stranger danger. Let's do everything we can to get away from it. So this can be, having that emotional response, which is very normal when you get triggered. Self-sabotage, being angry, running away, whatever that is, whatever our specialty is that we're going to use that. The ego's going to use that to get us out of there. And a lot of times we tell people, you have to change, you have to change, you have to change. But if you can't tell the whole world to change, everything starts with you. So when you change, everything else changes. And wouldn't you want to live in a world where the things that used to trigger you don't trigger you anymore? You kind of aren't even fazed by it. You don't even realize it anymore because you healed yourself from your past, all the things that you've been holding on to. Taming the ego, yes, it's much better and it's easier. So whenever you have a trigger or you have some sort of emotional response, do the best you can and just stop. Stop and be like, okay, what is my ego trying to protect me from? Is this something familiar from the past? What about this triggered me? Was it the environment? Was it another person? Was it the actions of another person? Were you about to experience something? So if you were about to be vulnerable or in a situation that reminded you of something of the past, whatever it is, you want to start asking yourself questions, because your mind, your ego tells you all the things that you're holding on to and all the things that need to get healed. It brings it to your attention when you get triggered or you have an emotional response. So this is the opportunity to start resolving it, start healing from it so you can let it go. We want to start letting go of the past, the things that we're holding on to. Because if we're still holding on to the past, we're going to have the same responses in the present moment and we're going to see the same stuff in the future. And we don't want that. We want to live our best life. So ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this something from the past? Why am I angry? Just keep asking yourself questions. And you may not get to the root cause, meaning the actual situation that caused this limiting belief, or for your ego to be very mama bear and stranger danger, but the emotional theme. So for me, and I always say this, it is vulnerability. Whenever I was about to be vulnerable, or even if I wanted to be vulnerable, a hint of vulnerability, self-sabotage through the roof. I was out of control. I was angry. I was cry. I was trying to get away. If I felt trapped, I would freak out. I was trying to run away. My ego was trying to get out of there because in the past when I was vulnerable, I got really hurt. So it was doing everything it could to get me out of there. Is it healthy? Absolutely not. It is not healthy, but it got me out of there. So this is even called shadow work. I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but this can be shadow work. It's coming to light. It is your shadow coming to light and it needs to be healed. So once you identify the root cause of this trigger, start telling yourself that, this isn't true. So if it is vulnerability, be like, you know what? That was the past. That was a different situation. It is safe for me to be vulnerable today. It is safe and secure for me to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable makes me strong. So it's all about identifying the limiting belief and what you want. What is the opposite of what you want? If you feel like you're not good enough and you want to be good enough, what would you say? I am a bad bitch. I am good enough. I'm deserving. Everybody knows that I'm good enough. I'm worth it. I'm worthy of amazing things. Whatever that means to you, there is no right or wrong. You just want to identify what you're holding on to and move it to something you want. Vulnerability is an issue. Vulnerability is not an issue. It's like a fun little game. Now, I can understand that when you are triggered and you have an emotional response, sometimes you're going to feed into it, you're going to give into it, and you're going to explode and you're going to freak out, and those self-sabotagings are going to come in. It's fine. It's normal. I still do that. Even though we have woken up, we're in this thing called spirituality, we're changing our mindset, retraining our mind, we're still gonna have hiccups. Nobody's perfect. We are living this wonderful human experiences. We're experiencing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's the same thing with our triggers. Sometimes, you know, when we are healing, our triggers might go from 1 to 10 and we can pick it up really quickly, be like, what are you doing, ego? I can sense that you're starting to create something. Something's brewing. And sometimes you go from 0 to pissed off and it just takes control. It's okay. You're human. It's gonna happen. It still happens with me. Sometimes triggers just sneak up on you. You don't really expect them to show up. As you do, I don't really think that we expect triggers to pop up. They can be random, but still, be nice to yourself. After the fact, once you cool down and maybe you reflect back on the situation, you can still start asking yourself the same questions and you'll get the same results. And maybe even when you are de-escalating the ego and you're working through your trigger in the moment, you might not know what it is. Maybe later, as you're thinking about it, like what would have caused that? I don't know what the root cause is. It will come to you later. So that's really all a trigger is. If you look at it, it's kind of simple. The process of it, de-escalating the ego, learning from your trigger, trying not to freak out when you're triggered, can be a little difficult and is different per triggers. Like I said, some are easier, some are not so easy. Just be nice to yourself and work through it. So in conclusion, whenever you experience a trigger, it is something from your past. It is something that your ego is trying to protect you from. It is the shadow side of yourself that we've been neglecting, afraid to heal, and that's okay. This is going to be a lifelong process. So when you get triggered, start de-escalating the ego, telling it first that it's okay, and then start asking it questions. Why do I feel this way? Is there something familiar about this? What is the root cause? Was it something I was about to experience? Was it emotion I was about to experience? Whatever it is, just keep asking those questions until you figure out either what the limiting belief is or the memory of it. You don't need the memory, you just need the limiting belief, and that is good enough. And then start changing the story. If you believe that you're not good enough and you want to be good enough, what would you say to yourself? If someone who was good enough, what would they say? Become that version, start switching the narrative, have that mental diet. I am good enough. Of course I'm good enough. I'm deserving of everything. And whenever you get a thought that goes in the opposite of your new identity, your new belief, you have to be like, I hear you, I see you, but I don't like it. We're actually going to go to this. We like this identity. We like this new version. So don't get upset with yourself if you get a trigger, and don't get upset if you let the trigger or your ego consume you and you do something and you regret it. It's okay. We all have that moment. Just figure out why. Just go back to it a later time, later that day, the next day, with a clear mind, and start asking yourself, what about that situation made me feel that way? I don't want people to be afraid of their negative emotions. See negative emotions or any emotion as feedback. And sometimes you might notice that you're asking yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And you're not getting anywhere. Sometimes you're just leveling up. You've been working on yourself for a while, and to become the new version, you have to let go of the old version stuff. So you might have random emotional days where you feel sad, you might feel depressed, and that's normal. Let it happen. So triggers might have a meaning and they might not. It could just be you're leveling up, you're getting rid of the old, you're shedding, and just be kind to yourself. It's normal. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.